Welcome to another episode of the 15-Minute a Day Cure. Today's topic, 5 proven methods for building self-discipline. Hi, I'm Margot Staten of BeGoodToYourselfByMargot.com and welcome to my channel. Here, I teach you simple strategies to improve your quality of life. If you're new here, wonderful to have you. So let's jump into today's lesson. 5 proven methods for building self-discipline. Now, you guys probably all know that self-discipline is very hard. It requires a lot of motivation. It requires a lot of dedication. And it also requires a lot of self-control to achieve. Now, we might have self-discipline in one area and lack self-discipline in another. So maybe, let's say you're fantastic at exercising, but maybe you struggle, eating healthier or eliminating sugar from your diet, or, maybe like me, eliminating or decreasing, things that have cholesterol in them. The point is that self-discipline is difficult, but it's not impossible, right? And the first thing that you need to do, which is number 1, is identify your weaknesses. So what do I mean by weaknesses? So what are the things that you need to work on, right? What are the habits that you currently have that you need to improve upon, right? So before you can kind of dedicate yourself to sort of self-discipline or, even achieving a particular goal, you need to first identify what you need to work on. So maybe, again, maybe you're trying to exercise, maybe you're trying to eat healthier. What's preventing you from doing these things, right? Maybe it's a budgeting issue, right? So maybe you spend more than you make. So the first thing is to identify your weaknesses. Once you identify your weaknesses, then you can set goals and sort of how you're going to achieve those goals in order to, improve upon that specific weakness. Now, just to be very, very clear, I'm not implying you should identify 5 to 10 weaknesses and work on all of them at the same time. That is impossible. You're essentially setting yourself up for failure. So while it's a good idea to identify your weaknesses, it is not a good idea to work on all of them at the same time. Number 2, creating habits. So habits are essential. What happens is when we make something a habit, it goes on autopilot. So think about, maybe driving to work, right? Or waking up in the morning. Maybe you have a morning routine. You're probably not noticing all the little things that you're doing, from what side of the bed you get up on, to when you brush your teeth, to everything becomes very, very mechanical, and it no longer sort of inconveniences or impacts us. Habits are very important. And when we talk about self-discipline, the reason we struggle is because it's a change, because it's something different, because we haven't developed habits. Now, habits take time to develop. So while in the beginning, you might struggle, exercising 5 days a week, right? The weather's really bad, or maybe you're not feeling well and you're like, oh, I'm just not going to exercise today. Again, we've all been there. But you're not going to build habits unless you're consistent with what you're doing. So creating habits and having good habits goes a long way towards improving your self-discipline and making you more successful in whatever goal you want to achieve. Number 3, and this is a tip that I give my clients, this is something that I use myself, is set alarms. Alarms are fantastic reminders and kind of get you, out of, what you're doing, or maybe into the rhythm of something else. So for example, maybe you're in school and you have to, you procrastinate doing papers because you don't enjoy it, or maybe you struggle with it. Setting alarms is fantastic. So let's say you give yourself 30 minutes to watch maybe a show on Netflix. You set an alarm for 30 minutes, the alarm goes off, and it's telling you that you need to turn off the TV and work on your paper. For me, for example, it's things like drinking water, or, sometimes I get so consumed and lost in a project that kind of hours go by and I might forget to eat. So I actually have alarms that go off throughout the day that trigger me to stop doing one thing and doing something else. So that's a nice little tip if you do struggle with certain things to sort of improve your self-control. Now, in that particular case, what you do need to do is stop and listen to your alarm, right? If you put it to snooze or if you ignore it, well, it's not going to work. But I find that it's a very nice, easy tip to get you to start doing, to break bad habits and to get you to start doing what you should be doing. So setting alarms. Number 4, don't have an all or nothing approach. A lot of the clients that I work with and a lot of people and a lot of my students, they kind of set unrealistic goals for themselves, right? So like their self-discipline, is impacted through a decrease in sort of self-confidence and self-esteem because they have an all or nothing approach. So a good example of this is I have a client that decided that she's going to lose, 50 pounds in the next 5 months, right? So her goal was to lose 10 pounds a month. And we sort of worked together to figure out a system of, an exercise regimen and sort of better eating habits. And it's eating healthier and not having multiple meals, not eating so frequently. So that was all great. But the problem was that her mindset was that unless she loses 10 pounds every month, she is a failure. And that's horrible, right? That is an all or nothing approach. So the first month, she was able to lose 4 pounds, but she was ready to give up. And in coaching her and sort of motivating her and explaining to her that you can't have an all or nothing approach, right? Sometimes we have high expectations for ourselves, and that is so admirable. But life might get in the way, or maybe our goals were a little above reach. And, it's more about sort of the losing of the weight as opposed to the specific amount of pounds that she lost. So I think she did a fantastic job losing 4 pounds, but she didn't. And that impacted her self-esteem and her confidence. And it kind of threw her self-control and her self-discipline out the window because she was very, very discouraged because she had this all or nothing approach. It's either I lose 10 pounds in a month or I give up because what's the point? I'm not going to be able to do it. So in working with her and motivating her and empowering her and affirming how well she's doing, guess what? She was able to continue and consistently lose weight. So be good to yourself, right? Be a little flexible. You should still be stern, right? Self-discipline is not about, I'm just not even going to try to lose weight this month, right? That's not what self-discipline is about. And self-discipline is uncomfortable. It really, really is, because we've built toxic routines and habits around something else. Again, a lot of the people that I work with, with them, it's spending more than they earn and they don't realize it, right? They go to a store and they kind of have an itch to, buy that new pair of shoes or buy that purse or buy, like, do fall shopping and spend more than they make. And then basically they bring all of these bags home and they feel guilty for spending all of that money, right? Self-discipline would be either only purchasing what you need, or guess what? Not going to the store unless you have money to make purchases. So an all or nothing approach is really just being kind to yourself. It's really just understanding that life, right, or even self-discipline is about moderation. It's about balance. It's about self-control, but it's not about sort of eliminating everything in your life and starting tomorrow doing a complete overhaul in 180, right? It's a gradual process. It's, slowly kind of transitioning yourself into creating good habits around sort of that weakness that you might have. And again, weaknesses could be things like you might have to look into personal development, right? Maybe a weakness is something within your business. Like, I am a horrible marketer. Like, I suck at marketing. And to be honest with you, when it comes to self-discipline, I'm just kind of like, oh, you know what? I procrastinate. Oh, I'll leave that until tomorrow. And I have to force myself to learn it. I have to force myself to sit my butt down, and try to sort of market and do SEO and do, keyword analysis and all of that stuff. While I really don't like it, it takes a lot of self-discipline for me to sort of glue myself to my desk and to my computer chair. Number 5, celebrate your accomplishments. And this kind of goes hand in hand with sort of not having an all or nothing approach. Celebrate your small victories. Self-discipline becomes increasingly easier with motivation. If you celebrate even small victories, you actually increase your motivation. So again, let's go back to the example, and we'll name my patient, let's say Susan, right? For the sake of the story. So Susan, instead of losing 10 pounds, lost 4 pounds and was ready to give up because of the all or nothing approach, right? What I'm saying you should do is celebrate the accomplishment, which is what we did with Susan. Celebrate the fact that you were able to lose 4 pounds. Celebrate the fact that maybe you didn't exercise 5 days a week, but you exercised 2. Celebrate the fact that you are committed to losing weight, that you are committed and that you are being empowered sort of by self-discipline and self-control, that you have committed yourself to improving a part of your life. Celebrate small accomplishments. Again, we typically tend to focus more on failures than we do successes because, our failures, we just have a negative mindset when it comes to something, right? Something goes wrong, which is very, very common in life. And we're like, oh, what's the point of, throw your hands up in the air and just give up. The amount of times that I failed, I should have probably given up like 15 years ago. But this is not a video about failure. But again, in general, if you celebrate small accomplishments, if you are able to improve little by little on your weaknesses, if you're able to create habits around that change that you want to make, if you do things like setting alarms, self-discipline becomes easier and easier and easier. And my biggest takeaway is one thing at a time. Too many people try to take on too many things at the same time, right? You kind of start with exercise and then your mind goes to diet because you saw something on Instagram or Facebook or because your partner or somebody said something, and it's just like, oh my God, it's too much. Self-discipline is also about being able to focus on one particular thing at one time. You want to succeed at one, because if you have too many things going on, guess what? You're going to fail at probably all of them because it's impossible for you to give 100%, right? So identify that weakness, identify that goal, identify that thing you want to improve upon, and understand that you have to have control, understand that you have to have self-discipline, and understand that it's going to be hard. It's going to suck. But if you're motivated, if you have self-control, if you understand how you need to build self-discipline, you will be successful. So those are my 5 proven methods for building self-discipline. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and always remember to be good to yourselves.